Dog owners, specifically those with large breed dogs, or maybe dogs that are a little bit on the well-loved side, I'm going to hold your hand and your dog's paw. We talk about this with feeding them. And so I've come across this several times, and just recently a colleague and friend sent me a message, and she was asking, hey, how do you get pet owners on board that have a large breed dog, and really these dogs need to be on gently cooked or home cooked or less processed food, but it's more of an investment because they're a bigger dog. And I absolutely understand wanting to feel comfortable with where my dog's food investment is financially for them. And this is why I want to hold your hand when I talk about this, because I've been practicing 12 years. I am so rooted in this belief because of what I've seen in the experience that, in my opinion, you're going to spend the money either way. You're going to invest the time and money either way. Why not make a deposit into your pet's health? Think of it like a savings account, like a high yield savings account, where you are making a deposit into it and is going to grow in a way that you want it to. Or you can look at spending money on your pet's health rather than investing. You are spending money on their health with a credit card with like a 30% APR. If this is the first episode, maybe you're watching and you're like, what is this veterinarian talking about? Or you're listening on Spotify or Apple. Nice to connect. I'm Dr. Bamonte. Been a veterinarian for over a decade. As I said, been practicing 12 years at this point. And I have a deep-rooted passion for nutrition when it comes to my patients. And if you have not listened to an episode yet, or you've listened to a few, the reason I am so passionate is because I've seen what nutrition has done for so many of my patients. It has been the missing piece of like putting a puzzle together, and it's that corner piece that you've just been looking for. Also, what is really cool about your pet's nutrition is that it is the one thing you do for them every single day. Whether they are, and I've said this before, whether they are 4 months old, 4 years old, 14 years old, whether you live in a high rise, whether you live in a city, whether you live on a farm and you're on 20 acres, whether they are one of 5 dogs, they are your only pet, they are your first pet, they are your 5th dog. It is storming out, there's a hurricane, your tornado warning, it is snowing, it is blizzard, it is cold, it is windy, it is hot, it is whatever the temperature may be, wherever you are located, however old your pet is, whether they can walk and run and jog or they are wheelchair bound, you have to feed your pet every single day. So why not take that as an opportunity to have such a big influence over their health? You can't always walk them. You can't always run with them because maybe it's hot outside. Maybe they have an injury. Maybe you have an injury or an illness. Maybe you're traveling. There are so many factors as to what can maybe affect their enrichment or their exercise, which is so important for them. But nutrition is the one thing that you do for them every single day. And I've seen it time and time again with clients saying they're less itchy, their skin's inflamed, their veterinarian is even improved, they're not coughing as much, they're not having diarrhea, they're actually enjoying their food, their weight is ideal, they're having better management of their diabetes, their kidney values are improved. Pet parents feel aligned that they're feeding food that's less processed. And I understand when you have a large breed dog, and right now, let's classify that anything over 50 pounds. I mean, we can definitely talk 70 pounds, 80 pounds, 90 pounds, 100 pounds, which is like a human. It's not far off from what I weigh. It is an investment to feed these dogs. 100% acknowledge that, especially with grocery prices these days. Holy moly, take out a second mortgage, take out a line of equity to go to the grocery store, especially when you're being intentional with the type of groceries that you're buying. If you're buying organic, you're buying whole foods, you're buying less processed foods. I understand. I am with you. I do not have a small breed dog. My dog is around 78 pounds. I absolutely hear it. In fact, back in March, I went and bought a variety of different foods for him. I wanted him to have access to certain proteins that I don't feel like prepping for him, mainly goat and rabbit. That's just a personal preference. And so I spent over $350 for him that weekend. I also know that his food, I see it as an investment. And that's where I think there's some mindset work that we can do, that when you are feeding your pet, you are making deposits. You can make deposits, like I referenced earlier this episode, deposits into a high yield savings account that is going to compound positively. Or we can be spending money and using a credit card that's got like a 30% APR. I don't know about you, but I would be choosing to put my money into the high yield savings account, right? And ditching the credit card with the 30% APR if I had to choose where my money was going. And now, let me preface this by saying that you can do everything right. You can maybe raw feed your dog. You can feed your dog organic. You can feed your dog gently cooked. You can prep their food. You can do a combination, and things still happen, unfortunately, because we don't live in a perfect world. However, I do firmly believe that you are dramatically decreasing the chances of something bad really happening, or when something happens that they can rebound really, really quickly, or we maybe delay that thing that we're worried about. And so when pet parents come to me and they're like, oh my gosh, I would love to cook for my dog, or I would love to feed raw or gently cooked or freeze dried, but it's a lot more money than the bag of kibble that I'm feeding. I hear you. And there's also some bags of kibble out there that are ridiculously priced, in my opinion, that I don't think they're worth the value of them. And so I do think that price and cost, which I really don't like using those words if you haven't picked up on it, is so subjective person to person. What's expensive to one person may not be expensive to another. So you've noticed I've not used the word expensive in this episode at all because it is so subjective. It is different from person to person. And I do feel, especially if your pet is at the vet for something that is chronic, meaning it has happened more than like twice in their life, urinary issues, poop issues, they're vomiting, they have this waxing and waning poop that just never is really normal, to the point where it's affecting their anal glands, and their anal glands are either getting impacted all the time, they're having to be lanced, they leak on you, they leak on your couch, they have chronic ear issues, they have chronic allergies with their paws, their tushy, their ears. You have to weigh out that what if you could have less trips to the vet and less investments at those trips because of dealing with all of those issues to get your pet comfortable. If we thought about, hey, could we maybe invest that time and money into their food? And maybe we'll lessen these visits. And so if you're someone who's at the vet every 2 to 4 months with an issue, that's time and money for you. And especially if your pet hates going to the vet, that's not fun for them either. And so if we can swap that and put that time and money into their bowl, something you're already doing, and elevating it and removing the highly processed food, maybe even going a step further and removing their intolerances, and even going maybe a step further and we're figuring out if they've got issues, speed bumps in their health, they've got glyphosate in their system, they've got mycotoxins, they've got their gut is very imbalanced, that's contributing to it. I think a great first step is switching them to less processed food and seeing what kind of how the dust settles. I'm not saying that that is going to fix it, but how great would it be if you're like, my dog is scratching less, and now it's only in peak pollen season that we have to address something. And here's the thing, even if nothing changed, which is pretty rare if you're dealing with something with chronicity, even if nothing changes in that sense, you're probably stopping it from getting worse, and you're making positive deposits into your pet's longevity bank. You are making positive deposits into their health span. Forget lifespan, right? We want health span. Yes, do I want my dog to live to 15, 16, 17 years old? Without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. Sign me up. I don't care. I'll sign it in blood if I need to. I also want him to get to those years if they're going to be good years. Because to me, it means nothing if my dog gets to 16 and 6 of those years are crud. 6 of those years, he's urinating on himself, he's defecating on himself, he can barely walk, he's running into walls, he's not eating, he's not enjoying life. What's the point? Then we're talking about lifespan. I want to focus on health span. How can we get your pet to live as long as possible, but as good and as well as possible? Because how fulfilling and warm and satisfying and gratifying and love filled does it feel, or would it feel, to know that your pet gets into their late teens with great quality of life? That's the goal, right? That's the dream. as your pet gets to 17 and they can still stand up and eat and they're not falling over and they can go for a walk and they're happy and they're enjoying the things that make them happy, whether it's a car ride or playing with a ball. And maybe, yes, they're not playing the same that they were at 6 years of age, but that is what can be on the other side of us being intentional about their food. And it doesn't have to be all or nothing. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I have a 90-pound dog and I have 4 kids in sports and extracurricular activities and tutors and this and that, and I'm not working right now. I hear you. I promise I hear you. Also, okay, can we make small swaps for them right now? Can we, instead of maybe the milk bones or the packaged treats that you get at the grocery store or the subscription service that you get that gives them a box of treats every month, how about instead of doing those packaged treats, and I'm not demonizing packaged treats, there are some packaged treats out there that are great, that are maybe ways for your pet to get other ingredients exposed to them because the treats are made of rabbit or goat or bison or venison or another ingredient. But how about instead of these packaged treats that are processed, and granted, right, there's different levels of being processed. There's processed and there's highly processed. How about instead of us giving those, we do some whole foods. We do some fruits, we do some vegetables. We play around with it. We let that be their option to have less processed food while still feeding the food that maybe you're comfortable with. Maybe you're feeding your dog GI Biome. You finally got their diarrhea to stop. You're not being woken up in the middle of the night and you're like, Doc, I hear you. I'd love to do that. But also, if I have to go back to what we were dealing with, I may lose my mind. I understand, because sleeping is important and having your dog be comfortable is so important. Also, glad things are better. They're still on highly processed food. So just know it may work indefinitely. It may work for a little while. But how about we swap out those treats for fruits and vegetables that they like and that you enjoy buying? Maybe it's some pears, maybe it's some apples without the seeds, maybe it's some blueberries, maybe it's strawberries, maybe it's raspberries, maybe it's peach, maybe it's some banana, maybe it's bell peppers, maybe it's cucumbers, maybe it's asparagus, maybe it's green beans, maybe it's carrots, maybe it's sweet potato if your pet's not intolerant. I have a lot of pets intolerant to sweet potato. Maybe it's yellow squash, maybe it's celery. There's so many options that you can do. So many options that you can do. And how involved and satisfying does it feel like, okay, not doing the treats anymore, not ready to move the food, but I'm going to go to Whole Foods for toppers on the food. Instead of the packaged cheese, maybe we do fresh fruits and vegetables. Maybe instead of the milk bones or the pepperoni or the Blue Buffalo treats or whatever is out there these days, that's what you're using for them. Maybe we take it a step further. Maybe in the morning they get their kibble, but at night they get a less processed food like gently cooked or freeze-dried. Or vice versa. They get it in the morning and then at night they get their kibble. It makes a difference. Yes, would it be better if it was all of it? Absolutely. Think about your nutrition. Think about how you ate. If you ate through drive-through food all the time, but instead at dinner now you're making your dinner, but breakfast and lunch, you're still going through Chick-fil-A or Wendy's or McDonald's or any of them, but you're cooking for yourself at night. That makes a difference. Yes. Does it being all, is it better? Yes. But does some of it rather than none of it make a difference? Absolutely. Maybe you've taken even a step further and you do in the morning, half of their portion is the kibble and half of it is less processed. The same thing in the evening. Maybe on the weekends, you go to gently cooked or freeze-dried or less processed. And then during the week, you do the kibble or vice versa. It all makes a difference. It absolutely makes a difference that you are making positive deposits into that high yield savings account, AKA their health span. It makes a difference. And I really want to invite you, and maybe it's pause, rewind, and listen to this again while I'm holding your hand, that I understand having a large breed dog comes with an investment. Everything costs more. Medications cost, it does, because it's more milligrams, it is more medications, it is more dosages. That is the reality of it. And I get that feeding a 60, 70, 80, 90, 100-pound dog is very different than feeding a 5-pound dog. Absolutely. I know, because when I formulate these recipes, they're very drastic in the amounts of food being fed. I also really want to invite you to really sit with this and realize that more often than not, you are going to spend the money regardless. It's just a matter, are we going to be able to make a positive deposit into their health and hopefully deposit it into their high yield savings account, aka their health span? Or are we going to spend the money on their health, being more react? Oh my gosh, why can't I say that word? We're reacting to their health because of things popping up. And now we're going to the vet, and now we're doing x-rays again. Now we're doing blood work again. Now we're doing the allergy medication that maybe isn't working as well as you want it to, or you don't feel aligned, or your dog is 4 years old and you're like, oh my gosh, they've already had 3 allergy shots already for the year and they're only 4 years old, or it's not working like it used to. That you are, in my opinion, there is a very, 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 very high likelihood that you are going to spend the time and the money regardless. It is just a matter of the vehicle that this money is being spent through. Like, how are you spending it? Are you going to the vet and doing the same things over and over again? Or are you using the money for something that you're already doing and you're feeding them? And yes, the food is more of an investment than what it used to be, but are you going to the vet less? Are they having less flare-ups? When they have a flare-up, is it not as bad? Are you able to catch it earlier now and support them? Are you able to help them live better? Are you able to lower the inflammation in their body so that they're not arthritic at 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old? Are you able to get them to an ideal weight, which is also going to help their health span and lifespan? So these are all things to consider that yes, it comes to weighing the options. Just like when I see pet parents and for an in-home visit and we've got a chronic issue, they're scratching themselves to death during our visit, or the poop is just never consistent, and the owners only want to do 1 or 2 tests. I look at, we're only scratching the surface. And so if you only want to scratch the surface on your pet's health span, yes, you can ignore their food. If you want to really be intentional and be proactive and try and help protect them, maybe lessen your vet visits, help their quality of life, really want to invite you to explore, where is your starting point for their food? Again, is it just right now, is it swapping out packaged processed treats for whole foods that are safe for them? Is it swapping out their PM meal with less processed food and in the morning they're still getting their kibble? Is it doing half and half? Is it certain days of the week? Are you slowly tiptoeing? And I have clients who do that. They come to me, nutrition consult, like, I want to talk about food. I'm not quite bought in yet on switching my dog from kibble. I just don't know. I'm just nervous to do it. I understand, totally understand. Especially if you feel like things aren't broken where you can see them, although underneath the surface, things are probably not like hunky-dory. And I've had pet parents come to me, they're like, I'm just gonna swap out the treats right now. Great, that's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Imagine if you did that. Imagine if you swapped out your snacks instead of Twix and Lay's potato chips and all these bars that are available, and you start eating an apple and an orange and some green beans or some snap peas and some celery and some carrots. It makes a difference. And so it all adds up. Yes. Is all of it better than none of it? Yes, but something is better than nothing. And I really hope, if you have a large breed dog, that you will explore that, yes, the investment may look different, but we're moving the investment around in a positive way for them.